Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel Hendricks. Got a very special interview today for our ring season recap. We got the head coach of the 2024 5A Division II state champion Northwestern Trojans, Page Wofford. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains. MovinChains.com is our website, podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. This was Coach Wofford's sixth season as the head coach of the Trojans. They went 14-0 in 2024 on their way to that 5A Division II state title. Coach, we've seen you play quite a bit the last couple of years, and it seems like even though maybe the names and faces might change, you guys have a similar strategy and style every season. But for folks who haven't seen you guys play, what do you kind of consider what you guys do on both sides of the football?
Well, I feel like we just try to put pressure on the other team in every phase of the game. Offensively, we're going fast. We're trying to score as many points as we can, as fast as we can. We have a little, we've had games where we scored a touchdown on every possession. So, once that game kind of really opened our eyes to what the possibilities are. Don't have limits on, 28 points, 35 points a game, 42 points. Just score as many points as you can and let the other team adjust to that. Defensively, a lot of pressure, trying to get after the quarterback, trying to put them in bad situations, win the first down. Cover some receivers and try not to get beat on the big plays. And then special teams as well. It gets lost in some people's idea of how you win games, but we really emphasize our special teams and trying to block kicks and return kicks and putting a lot of pressure that way. So, we feel like we can score on every down. Beamer ball. I grew up with Beamer ball, and I love Beamer ball now. If we can score on defense and score on special teams, they all count. So we'll take it.
Coach, you mentioned scoring as much as you can on offense. You guys did a great job of that this year. 49 points a game on that side, limiting them to 17 on the defensive side. Special teams as well. You mentioned how great, those guys were and important this year. Who were some special players this year that led you on the state title run?
Well, I'll start with offense. Finley Polk, the quarterback, he was a 3-year starter. He graduated as the winningest quarterback in Northwestern history. I believe he had 38 wins, 11 plus, 13 plus 11 plus 14. So, yeah, 30, I guess that's 38 yep. Wins. Yeah, I'm on my fingers here, right? I had to take my shoes off for that. But he every year he got better. The last 2 years we scored more points per game than any other offense in Northwestern history. Last year was like 52 points a game. This year was 49 points a game. So, we'll take it. That was, offensively we did a pretty good job. The offensive line. I'm going to end up naming every player, so sorry about that, guys. But
no worries.
Left tackle Bo Chumley, left guard was Noah McCoy and Elijah Profferty worked in there together too. Elijah Profiter. The center was Chris Coleman, who really made a difference in what we were doing. Putting him there was really a big step for us that we made last spring and last summer, and it really, really helped our offense. Right guard Nasir Hanna, a 2-year starter. He'll end up being a 3-year starter. And the right tackle was Matthew McClellan, who was weighed all of 200 pounds, maybe 200 pounds. But he really got the job done there from right tackle for us. The receivers, we had 3 of them, 3 senior receivers this year, or actually 4, and all 4 committed to play in college somewhere. So, wide receiver U is alive and well at Northwestern University. We're going to get those guys the ball and give them a chance to play. To Darian Knox, C.J. Broughton, Jaden Nichols, and Daniel Caldwell all committed to play college at the next level. And then you throw Cameron Vance in there as a junior who is an explosive player. And even Evan Harrison, another really special kid with the ball in his hands. And we had a lot of weapons. Running the ball, Zymir Gordon-Miles had 1,200 yards and 16 touchdowns as a sophomore. He started on defense as a freshman for us. We moved him to running back and ended up more to do. We knew that, but he stepped. Excuse me. We had the 4 guys up front. Mason Greer and Andre Pickett signed letters of intent today to go play at Newberry. We're going to miss them. Denijay McMullen had offers. Dimitri Putman, one of the top student athletes, in the area. He was the Charlotte Touchdown Club Student Athlete of the Year. Those guys we're going to miss them a great deal. And really, they just solidified. We weren't worried about teams running the ball on us. I wasn't worried about it. The defense was worried about it. Don't get me wrong. They stayed up at nights worried about the run game. But I was like, look, those guys are going to do their job and put pressure on those offensive linemen. And then our linebackers, Will Massey and Cameron McFadden and Jeremiah Cannon, those guys were going to go clean it up, And Tamarion Watkins, the number 1 safety in the state, and according to Rivals, Jaden Baxter playing free safety back there with him, and Jonathan Joseph's nephew, Jace Joseph, did a great job. And then we had some corners rotating in there, Khalil Williamson and Jonathan Spurgeon and Josh Singleton. And then we had Caleb Singleton coming as our nickel Sam. And we had a lot of guys contributing, so that was great. And then you throw in there a 3-year starter at kicker, Matthew Fish, and we could put a lot of pressure on teams and win some games.
Coach, looking back at last season, you lost really a heartbreaker in the third round by a point to Greenville. How much did that fuel those guys heading into the offseason to make this big state title run here in 2024?
Well, I think it had, I think it helped. It helped into this season. Last year, of course, it was terrible. We didn't like it. And, I had a conversation with Finley, the quarterback in my office. He was going to be a starter coming back, the 3-year starter quarterback. And I said, behind my desk, I've got a big sign, a big graphic, and Kyle Richardson's on there and Jimmy Wallace is on there and Gage Maloney, Mason Rudolph, those guys that played quarterback here and Dupree Hart and Will King, some of the better quarterbacks that we've ever had and Justin Worley. And I said, the only way to get on there is to win a state championship. I said, neither of us are going to be on there unless we win a state championship. So, we talked about that probably in January, right when we got back. It was like, okay, let's get this thing going. So, he really, really improved from his junior to senior year. He was a much different quarterback, much more dynamic quarterback his senior year. And I think that kind of pulled the other guys along. They kind of saw that happen and knew that we could, be pretty special. But, having seniors where we had them, Daniel Caldwell was a leader for that receiver corps. He didn't say a whole lot, but they were going to do what they're supposed to do. Matthew McClellan, an offensive line, a senior right tackle, he made sure those guys were, on point, and if they weren't, then he would say something to him because he's a senior. Defensively, that defensive line, you were going to do your job on the defense, or else they were going to let you know about it. So I think that losing in the third round, you look back and you say, did that have an effect? I'm sure it had some effect. I don't know to what extent, because we were going to be good. But, they didn't want that taste in their mouth again. And, of course, as a coach, you can bring that up. If the guys need a little more extra push, you can kind of bring up, hey, last year we lost by a point. Is that the difference? Is today's practice going to get us that point or not? So it was I think coaching-wise it had an effect as well. So I guess the short answer is yes, it certainly had an effect.
Coach, you mentioned that, a heartbreaking loss last year in the playoffs, and that kind of fuels you through the offseason and things like that. But you guys came into the season still as a heavy favorite, and then you just really dominated throughout the season. When you're going through that grind week by week, game by game, how do you keep those guys motivated, and do you rely on that senior leadership to push them through the finish line?
Well, we talk about it. We talk about 3 things we can't have. We can't be complacent, we can't be selfish, and we can't lose our accountability. Yeah, and we talked about that week to week. After that first game against Huff, we had to come back. We were down 20 and came back and won by a few points, one or a few points there. I can't remember the score, but, to come back in that game against a very, very, very solid Huff team, very quality team. They've got good players there. To come back and beat them really let us know how good we could be and that no game was ever out of reach. But I'm a big guy in just bringing those factors up and talking about it. We can't be selfish. We got to look for anybody being selfish and get that out of the way. We can't lose our accountability. As coaches and the adults and the seniors, when you see somebody doing something wrong, the best thing they can do is say, hey, we don't do it that way, or this is how we do those things. That carries a lot of weight. And I think our guys did that. I think they did a great job throughout the season of kind of, hey, it's great we're winning these games, but we've got bigger things to do, and we may practice. We may not have to practice this week to beat the team we're playing on Friday, but the practices we put in this week stack up to where when we get in the playoffs against a Greenwood, a Gaffney, a Irmo, now those playoffs and Indian Lane, now those practices we had back in week 6, 7 start to mean something. So I think our kids understood that and took that to heart, and it really, really improved us there towards the end.
Coach, in that state title game, a 3-point win over Irma, you guys racked up 493 on offense. I think it was 427 through the air. Watching film that week, did you know you'd have such success through the air? Was it something that you picked up on, or just, your guys just going out there and made plays on that Saturday night?
We thought we could be successful, based on the things they were doing on defense. We thought we had a pretty good idea we could move the ball. And based on the season we had leading up to that and the points we were scoring, I think we scored 58 against Gaffney the week before. When you can score that many points against Gaffney defense, and you feel like you can probably score against, the New York Giants because they're really good. So when we were able to do that the week before, and we felt like we had a good plan. And I got to give credit to my offensive assistant coaches, Coach Hunt, Coach Cantrell, Coach Bollinger, and Coach Black, and Coach Shugarts, and Coach Jordan. Those guys. We get in the meeting room, and it's just we're a quote unquote air raid offense, but really that's just kind of an idea. We work very well together and had a very good communication going through. So, yeah, I guess the answer is yes. We really thought like we could put some points on the board. We knew they were going to score. AJ Braden is a dynamic, very special player. And 2 years ago we played Lenore Sellers, and he had a pretty good game against us. So we knew going in that we were going to have to put some points on the board and limit his chances. And we figured he was good for about 4 touchdowns, which is what they got. So when we thought when we still had to make the plays and stuff like that, but going in we thought we had a chance. I never would have said 423 yards passed, and I never would have thought that. I didn't know what it would have taken. We don't talk about yards because our with special teams the way they are, if we get good field position, we might not get a lot of yards, but as long as we're scoring points, we feel like we have to give ourselves a chance.
Coach, going to that thrilling game there in the state title, you go to the fourth quarter, Irmo takes the lead, and we talk about games are not won on one particular play or lost on one particular play, but I think this is the most important play, and I think Kevin agrees with me here. You guys are down 7 in that fourth quarter. You drive down to the 23-yard line of Irmo. It's 4th and 15. Finley Polk, absolute dot to Caldwell there to get the first down. You guys score on the next play on the pass to Cameron Vance. How special was that 4th down play, watching from the sideline, to really, kind of set the win up for you guys late in that game?
Very, very, very good observation, because I just spoke about it today when Daniel was signing with North Greenville. He had 1 catch that game, but it was the biggest catch of the season by far. If we don't score there, they've got the momentum, they've got the ball, they've got a lead, and they've got an offense that can grind out the clock. So to call that play and for him to be open, for Finley to have time, and then just put it right where it needs to be put, and for Daniel to catch it, a lot goes into that kind of play and that kind of catch. It was 4 years in the making, because those guys played together as freshmen and played together moving up. But a lot goes into that play, and for them to execute it and be able to catch it. And he wasn't real open. He had guys all over him. He wasn't. They had jammed our slot receiver pretty good. So for him to come across there and kind of get underneath it and be open was huge. And when that happened, and I think we scored maybe, I'm not sure when we scored after that, but to be able to put that touchdown in and tie it, and then put some pressure on them, get the ball back and go up, and then they go up, it was like, okay, here we go. And to be able to go back and tie the game and win it was a big deal, man. But you're exactly right. That play was probably, besides the field goal to win, it was probably the biggest play of the game.
Coach, I do want to ask about one of your younger receivers, Cameron Vance. He had, maybe the play of the weekend with the one-handed catch, shakes off a defender, takes off down the sideline, catches a couple touchdowns in that game as well. What makes him such a special player, at a younger age, really?
I think his love for the game. He loves playing football. He loves it. And he loves playing football at Northwestern. He's a kid that had a hand issue earlier in the season, and the trainers were holding him out. But he was at every practice, which you're supposed to be anyway, right? But he was going through every drill, and just don't throw him a ball. So he was running every route. He was going through everything, and just didn't have the ball thrown to him for, 2 weeks or however long it was when he was out for that. But, that's not the normal. That's not the norm. Normally a kid would stand on the sideline and watch and be bored and probably be a distraction. But Cam was right there like he had never missed a beat. And, he loves football, and he's a great teammate, and he loves his teammates, and it just showed. And, that catch, we've seen that catch. We give them push-ups in practice when they catch the ball with one hand. I let that one slide, because that was we ran that exact play about 2 or 3 plays earlier, and he had actually released outside and didn't have a lot of grass there. But that play, same kind of position, exact same play. He went inside, had the spot, and Finley threw it. And to make that one-handed catch and then keep his balance, and it was like a 52-yard gain or something like that to put us down the field. And then that same drive, he caught the touchdown in the end zone. And I don't remember if that was to tie it or to go. I think it was to go up. After a punt, one of their punts. That was just he's dynamic, and he's a huge playmaker. And when you talk about big touchdowns or needing a big play or needing a first down, we have no reservation whatsoever trying to figure out where he is and where we can put him in a situation to throw him a ball, because usually he's going to make that play.
Coach, Northwestern, of course, you mentioned it earlier, wide receiver you guys had the 4 studs and the young guy Cameron Vance coming up, the lineage of quarterbacks. But in this game in particular, we want to shine a light on the defense a little bit. Talk about Tamarian Watkins making the great fourth fumble early. Will Massey with a big-time sack. That defensive line of Pickett, Dowling, and Greer just making plays and wreaking havoc, especially early in the first half. How did you keep those guys locked in on the defensive end, and how are they able to make an impact? And I want to go back to Tamarian Watkins there. He's not the number 1 safety in the state. He's number 1 player right now, according to Robinson State.
Well, heck, good for him. I didn't know that. Wow. All right. Might have to have a little meeting with him about that. He's earned it. He's a great player. He's worked hard. He came in as a freshman and came from the middle school where he was playing, I think, running back and defensive end. So he came to the high school and tried receiver and the 9th grade team, and then we moved him to defense and kind of settled in that outside linebacker, kind of a hybrid position. We pulled him up his freshman year for the playoff run in 23 when we played against South Florence. And he's out there covering our slots. And I'm like, dude, where's this guy been? We could have used him this year. 9th grade coaches, why didn't I'm sure you didn't want to tell us about him because he was, he's a playmaker. He's doing things out there that he's covering our good, we had some pretty good receivers that year too. And he's covering those guys in one-on-ones. And I'm like, holy cow, man, if we had this guy for 4 more weeks, he'd be playing, he'd be starting, he'd be getting in the state championship game. So we knew then we had something. He started as a sophomore, does nothing but work. Another kid, that loves football and is always doing whatever he's doing. It's always has this is going to help me with football slant to it. His brother played, here in Rock Hill, in the city of Rock Hill, and went and played in college and is very supportive and works out with him and trains him in the off season. And, when we're not doing anything, he's with him. So, just a wonderful player and a wonderful young man. And he's earned these offers that he's getting. He's earned them. They're fully committable offers. These guys want him. They're still recruiting him. It's been kind of good to see for him. But I really can't. I'd be remiss without talking about my defensive staff. Coach Donato, he's the head coach of the defense. I'm over there with offense, trying to get a first down or, trying to do something like that over there. But he's really he and the defensive staff do a great job, kind of keeping those guys together and really putting that game and really 100% putting that game plan together and then executing the plan against a team like Irmo that had scored, the points they were scoring and put the yards up that they were putting on, and coming up with a big play when needed. You can slow that guy down, but when they decide they're going to do something or he decides he's going to run, he's very difficult to stop. So, I thought Tamarian coming up with that fumble early, and really it could have been a fumble for a touchdown. I think it fell out of either Andre Pickett or even Tamarian. It came out of their hands where they're by themselves down the sideline. So, those plays and the other plays they made that game, a lot won't be made about DJ Knox Dowling. He hadn't started the whole year. We had a defensive end, Dimitri Putman, go out the week before against Gaffney. So, DJ, next man up, you got to go. And he had 11 tackles and 3 sacks. So, we look like good coaches, right? Hey, what about that? Look what he did. Well, are we that good? Maybe he should have been playing more the whole year, right? I mean, come on. But he was ready to play. It's just kind of a testament to our culture and what we preach to the kids, that he was ready to play when his number was called and went in there. And really, I think was, between him and Massey were probably the defensive MVPs of that game.
Coach, late in the game, Irmo ties it up, a big pass from Brandon Murph. You guys get the ball back at your 26, 143 left. You told us after the game that you told your team that they left too much time, and that was certainly true. I mean, let me read this drive here. Polk to Nichols, 15 yards. Polk to Vance, 9 yards. Polk to Nichols, 8 yards. Polk to Nichols, 9 yards. Polk to Nichols, 17 yards. Irmo penalty. Polk centers at Matthew Fish, 27-yard game-winning field goal. The ball doesn't touch the ground. I know there's something that you guys probably rep all season long, but how awesome was it to see you guys execute perfectly there when it mattered most?
As it's happening, you don't notice. I didn't know Polk was 12 for 12 in the first half.
Yeah.
That's not something that we, it doesn't come up. It's not something, there was an incompletion or there was that, and really in the second half, he had to throw some balls away where we didn't have people open and he just threw it away. So I don't remember what his total, stats were, what his completion percentages were in the state championship game, but he was really on point and it was really good to see. But as it's happening, you're just kind of waiting for that, making sure you're getting first downs and moving the ball and one eye on the clock. And I knew we had some timeouts in our pocket, which helped. We were prepared for that. Really the play that really, kind of solidified it for me, or when I thought, hey, this is going to happen, was the last catch by Jaden Nichols. he caught the ball, had two guys kind of run into each other. He got north, which is what we teach, and got 15, 17 yards. He said, I can't remember, but he got down to the 15. And then I'm like, okay, get the ball in the middle. The clock's running down. I'm waiting for them to call timeouts, thinking they're going to save time for when they get the ball. And they weren't calling timeouts. They were letting the clock run. So, the next play is, hey, run the quarterback in the middle, get the ball in the middle of the field at about the 10-yard line. And then we can go for, we can try for this field goal, which is what happened. So, as it's happening, looking back, it's like, wow, I knew, I didn't know, if you would have told me, hey, the ball didn't touch the ground that last drive, I didn't know that, because we're just looking, for the next play.
Coach, there's an adage in sports that you're going to lose a few before you win one. In this particular season, in this particular team had guys that had lost a few, including yourself. 2 years ago, you ran into the buzzsaw that is South Florence and Lenore Sellers. The past year got upset, we mentioned, with Greenville. But this year, you guys just kind of steamrolled it, culminating in that state title, and met that standard of those great Northwestern teams, living up to that legacy. How special was it to claim it with this bunch this year?
I couldn't, other than winning at the last 6 years as head coach, this was as special as anything that could have been. And when you look at those guys, the senior class we had, we didn't have many. I think there were 19 or 20 in the senior class. Usually we're graduating 30, 35. So a small, close-knit group that kind of stuck together and stuck it out. And, playing, I'm not a fool. I know playing at Northwestern, we demand a lot from them. We try to prepare them for that next level as best we can. And I think the guys that we've, sent out have kind of proven that out, fleshed that out, that we're doing the right things. But having a 3-year starter quarterback, having those guys at the defensive line, and I tell the recruiters that come in all the time, they ask about character, and we're spoiled at Northwestern. Our kids, we have good kids. We have kids that work hard, and they're listening to you, and they're trying to do what you're telling them to do. It doesn't always work out for us, but we're very spoiled with the kids we have and the character of kid that we have at Northwestern. So to win with those kids was special. To win with kids that were Rock Hill kids was also special. We're not I said this after the game, I'll go ahead and say it again. We don't have a recruiting budget. We don't have guys out there beating the bushes. We don't get 27 recruits every year and, a different quarterback every year and a different this or a different that every year. We're trying to develop our players from the time we see them in middle school and the time we get our hands on them as freshmen. And, to be able to do that and see it work and to see it come to fruition and to win the big one, is very, 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 very pleasing and very special.
Well, this has been great. I want everyone to go check out Coach Wofford and the Trojans program on social media. They do a great job posting updates on their kids and their programs. So definitely follow them there. Like I mentioned, follow us at Movin Chains. Movin the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jerel, anything else for Coach before we let him go today?
Hey, Coach Wofford, thank you so much for your time today. That was a heck of a run that you guys went on. And keep dancing in the locker room. We love seeing those videos every week.
Yeah, man. I'll do the best I can. I'll start working on it.
Coach, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you sometime this offseason and talk to you soon, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Set your kids up with a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Just like learning the rules of football, understanding money management is crucial. Our Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Give your young MVPs the skills they need to move the chains on their financial futures. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin the Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.